to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Sometimes you run into people who change your life for the better. Those people are called bartenders.
And Dale Hummel.
Everything seems impossible until it's done.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good morning, Ryan.
Hello, it's early, very early.
It is early, and I apologize. We have a few things going on today, so we had to work this into Clifton's schedule. We're just happy we've got a schedule to record today.
I don't think it's going to work out next week. You're going to be in some foreign country, so it's probably just be me, but it'll be fine. I'll make it
It'll
work.
be fine. We're in the Swiss of it all. It's internet capable, no wars going on. They're neutral. They won't get any further. Nothing can go wrong in Switzerland. It's fine.
Right.
Always good in Switzerland. I hope. Current events. I did my due diligence and I watched some news. I did a little internet research, and the most impressive thing I came up with is something we've seen before, but it was front and center when I typed in "Your President Joe," his note card.
Oh, that was funny.
How, Ryan? And I'm going to try to be serious here. It's funny, but I'm going to try to.
No,
be
it's real funny. It like tells him when now you sit down.
How is this possible, Ryan? That the president of the free world, the president
I told you the people voted with their emotions and not their brains.
But he shouldn't just the fact. Okay, he had this note card in his hand. Okay, we can see that there's video evidence. We can't deny that, correct?
No, it's there.
We can't deny that he was given this card. Apparently, I don't think he typed it up. Probably.
Yeah,
we don't know this.
Four different former chiefs of staff says this does not happen with other presidents. Four different.
I can understand. I can understand a note card with statistics for 1979 population or something like that.
You enter the room.
Yeah, I have
it down. You say hello.
I have it written down just for our audience, so just to make sure they understand exactly what we're talking about. This was a good size note card, not a 3x5, a good size note card. And someone apparently typed this up, and I'm going to read to you. I wrote it down. I took a picture of it and wrote it down. Capital letters, Y-O-U, you, enter Roosevelt room. Line 2, you take your seat. Line 3, the press enters. Line 4, you give brief comments. Line 5, you ask Liz Schuler a question, specifically Liz. We assume we know what the question is, but that's a presumption. You thank participants, you depart. If you were giving this card as the president of the United States and you accepted the card, you obviously need help doing these things. And if you need help to know to enter this room, to sit down, to leave the room, Ryan, it is very, very difficult for me to understand how this is physically possible.
I think it's great.
No, it's not. Look at the shit show he's got us into. And remember, you've talked about Oz forever, and people are asking all the time.
I have decided that Oz is the dumbest. It's stupider than Biden.
I think it's the secretary that types these up.
No, I think it's somebody stupider than Biden. I didn't think that's possible, but I've decided. But like, I'm serious. I posted this on my Facebook last night, and I was like, "There's a sign tacked to this man's tree, or somebody's tree in their front yard. It says, if you hate Trump after this 18-month shit show, your commitment to stupidity is impressive." And then that's just it. It's just how it is. This is all there is to it. Of course, now they say he's not running. So
I've not heard that. I've not heard anything about that.
So mostly him and DeSantis are in some kind of like spat, and DeSantis is thinking that he's going to run, and Trump's afraid they won't beat DeSantis. I don't know. It may all be rumors, but
I can't see Trump backing down.
I don't know. It's very strange.
Now you knew the Trump DeSantis spat you knew that was inevitable. That was going to happen. Period.
How about, which I know we have to talk about the Supreme Court and all their nonsense, but did you hear about the immigrants that got found dead in the semi truck? 46 of them.
I saw it this morning.
46.
A refrigerator truck with no refrigeration, sealed up, and your governor, I believe, did he come out and make a statement? He puts this blame directly on Biden.
Well, how can you not blame Biden?
I agree. I appreciate that he came out and did that. It's hard to imagine. We can't possibly.
I don't think y'all know how hot it is in Texas. Like,
Oh,
Satan is like emerged this summer. But yeah, no, I can't.
there's nothing good about this
And he is not
illusion
even
of the open border. Not
no
illusion,
one.
the fact of the open
There
border.
is no illusion. It's the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
There's nothing good about it.
And like no one from the White House has said anything about this.
Not a word.
46 people dead.
Kind of like the assassination attempt on a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, we don't talk about that either.
We don't mention those things.
No, why would we talk about
Good
that?
Lord. I was visiting with somebody yesterday, and they're asking, well, how soon can we turn this around if we as conservatives take back the House and the Senate, and then possibly the White House in 24? I my comments to him is I just don't know. The simple things are we try to get the energy independence back, but the oil companies are going to be very nervous, Ryan, to put a lot of money into it, not knowing who's going to be in the White House 4 years later and where they're going to be on the policy. It's a difficult situation, very difficult. I think the other solution is you continue the building of the border wall, and maybe that I mean it's going to slow things down. I don't know. Doesn't the Supreme Court come out today with those immigrants claiming political asylum having to stay in Mexico? Whether Joe could his executive order was constitutional by not making them do that.
I
Does that
don't
make
know.
any sense?
I know I thought it was the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm pretty sure it's West Virginia versus the EPA. I don't think there's anything else left.
No, I think the one about the executive order that Trump, I don't know if it was originally an executive order on Trump, but when he had everybody remain in Mexico while they're getting processed for whatever reason they're trying to come in the country, stay in Mexico policy. Joe overturned it. Now they're trying to decide whether he was allowed to overturn it. I assume if it was an executive order, he could, but if it was something else, maybe not. I don't know. But I hope there's something to that. Hopeful. What else do you have in the world of current events?
But you haven't even talked about Roe versus Wade.
No, I was going to try to save that towards the end. I did have. Well, did you hear one other thing? And maybe it came out yesterday. I didn't hear it until this morning.
The praying coach.
The praying coach, yes. And what about Hunter's voicemail?
Hunter has a voicemail
being opened up on his laptop. He backed up every voicemail.
Oh, that's probably not good.
Why would a person do this?
I don't know. That's probably not good.
No, and
I've heard nothing about that.
Yeah, and I only heard one of them that came out, and this takes your president Joe deeper into his web of lies, lies, and lies. So you remember when Joe has been asked many times, "Are you aware of your son's or your brother's business dealings overseas?" What is his answer?
He has nothing to do with it.
He doesn't. He's never discussed it with him, and he gets angry when he gets asked.
Yes, about never discussed anything.
Just as amazing. So I want to set this up so everybody out there understands. So what we have is we know Hunter Biden's laptop, and for some reason on Google Cloud, whatever, he backed it up, and they were able to enter that. And one of the messages was left from his father, and this was, I believe, in December of 2018 when Joe was vice president, and they have the date on it, and they correlated it to an article that was going to come out in the Wall Street Journal that came out online the night before it was going into print, is what this message is referencing. So I'm going to take just a section, a quote out of the middle of the voicemail, and this was Joe leaving a voicemail for his son Hunter. It starts out, "Hey, trying to get a hold of you, no emergency, just want to visit with you," and then he goes into, "I thought the article released online is going to be printed tomorrow in the Times was good. I think you're clear." Obviously, this was referring to a Chinese business deal at that time that Hunter had received millions of dollars for, we really don't know what reason, outside of access to his father. And then he goes on to, "I love you, give me a call." Basically just talking about, obviously, they're concerned about the articles coming out and the perception of Hunter getting all this money. And it's right there, your president's voice on the voicemail saying, "Hey, This is coming out tomorrow, but I think we're good. I think you're clear. Would that not be incriminating?
No, because it doesn't exist.
No, it does. I heard it.
No.
I heard it.
They will say it's fake. Disinformation czar will exit out something.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it won't be Mary Poppins. You know,
No,
who
she got fired.
You know who it's going to be? Your little cute girlfriend.
Again, I think she's a cute little girl. I think she's terrible at her job, but I think she's very cute.
She's. I don't feel
she's
bad.
She's not going to make it another month. Like she's not.
And I don't even know her name. Do you know her name?
No.
She's
the Black Tinkerbell. Okay, that is it. Black Tinkerbell.
Oh, the poor lady.
I forgot. Did you hear what Beetlejuice did now?
Oh no, but I had something about Beetlejuice. I forgot what it was.
So now she has instructed the police that
I did hear. Yes,
they run away. You can't chase them.
Yep, you cannot run after a criminal.
No.
So
all they gotta do is run away.
So if the cop's standing there and a criminal steals a purse or shoots somebody or whatever, and they decide to run, they're fine. They're gone. They're good. Don't chase them.
No, can't chase them. No chasing.
Isn't this incredible?
Like, oh Lord, I
just don't want it, listeners. I'm just telling you right now. I have to go up to the airport, which is a little outside of Chicago. You just don't go there. Just don't. That's all I can do for you.
Your son is moving there.
No, he has to go to work downtown every day, and it is very concerning to me. And my comments to him were, as soon as you have enough time in there, they allow you to transfer. You need to leave. Period. Gone
immediately, if not sooner.
Yes, very much so. Why would anybody? I think in his company, they have offices in Austin, Tampa, and one other place. I'm not sure where it is, but another good choice. And I'm good with Tampa or Austin. I mean, Austin's maybe a little liberal for me, but in the big picture of things compared to Chicago, very, very interesting. Well, we have to talk about the Supreme Court. You want to do it? You want me to do it?
I don't care. They're making very unhappy people. Very unhappy people.
We know that the overturning Roe was going to be, whether it was or wasn't, an emotional situation. Period. No question.
Do you know what the real problem in America is? Reading comprehension.
I know this. I knew this was coming.
Reading comprehension.
Go ahead. Go ahead. In America. Just have at it.
Because people only they I don't even think they read. They just like take what they want from anything.
It goes back to that emotional thing. When people are so emotional and so personal to some people, they're going to either see what they want. I have
been called everything but a white woman and a child of God over,
and I'm okay with that. Yeah,
because I simply posted on Facebook that the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade does not mean that abortion is illegal. It means that it goes back to the states for the states to decide what their abortion laws and rights in each state will be. That is not an opinion, people. That is a fact. A fact. I don't know
what happened.
Oh,
how about I help out here? You're a little.
So many people that I want to throat punch, physically throat punch them.
You're too close to this one. I'm going to step in.
No,
just for
I'm
a second
not, because I think people are stupid. People literally. I mean, especially that one woman. I'm not going to say her name on the air, but I'm telling you,
deep breath. You're okay. I will try to explain this without emotion, and I'm going to be very cautious, and I'm going to be very upfront about stating my personal opinion on this, but rather in the bigger picture of government. And I'm going to speak for Ryan here because I know he's with me on this one. What the Supreme Court did is took the power out of the federal hands, the federal government's hands, and placed it in the hands of the state to decide on their own. And in general, on most policy, I'm very much in favor with less government. And if there is government, I'd rather push it to the state or local level for the people to actually have some input. So right now, the voters in each individual state who they choose to elect in the legislative state house is going to decide on what the abortion situation is in that state. And that's just, and as Ryan said, that's a fact. So it goes from, it takes more power away from the federal government, more power to the state. Each state will then decide. That is how it is. That's not an opinion. That's just fact. So you're going to have some states that are very much in favor of abortion, some states that are very much pro-life, and I think it's going to, in general, reflect the population of that state. Unfortunately, you have states like Illinois. Guess who controls Illinois?
Chicago.
Chicago, Beetlejuice in the Chicago population. So irregardless of what the downstate Illinois wants, Chicago's still going to dominate that. There is nothing going to change in the abortion laws in terms of pro-abortion in the state of Illinois. Now, if I'm avidly opposed to that to the point that I think it's worth selling everything I have here and moving to another state, I can do that. Will it be easy? No, it wouldn't. But I think there is no question, Ryan, you said this best to me just on the phone the other day. Each state has a population or a populace of people that in general are different from one another. Texas used to be different than California until all of California moved to Texas.
Shut up.
It's the truth.
They
It is
don't
the
take over.
stating
But
of the facts.
look, there are very few issues in government issues that I cannot understand why you would not want them decided at a state level, because what the majority of people in Texas or Arkansas or Louisiana want is not the same as New York and Maine and Vermont.
Just throw Illinois in there. It's okay. Throw it in there.
I mean, I don't. Illinois is its own thing. But anyway, and so like I don't understand why everybody is like up in arms. And I'm gonna say something, and y'all, I'm gonna get more hate mail, and I don't care. The word abortion is not in the Constitution. It's just not. It's not in there. It is not a constitutional right to get an abortion. Now that's just facts.
Again, this is not your personal opinion. You're stating a
No,
fact.
that is
Okay.
just facts. I have not stated my opinion on abortion because it doesn't matter. They just read what they want to anyway. But
And even if you or I or when anybody states their opinion on it, the problem is it is so emotional and so personal. I don't think it does any good. You're not gonna. This is a topic you're not gonna change somebody's
and men
opinion.
are not supposed to talk about women's health issues anyway, according to Facebook.
There is one thing I want to bring out, and again, you know that I'm all in favor of less government. I'm always going to side with less government, and in general, I'm going to side with the power going to the state versus the federal government. But there is one issue here. When it was, if the Supreme Court or the federal government put something out there that regulated abortion, pro, positive, what negative, whatever, if any regulation of it whatsoever came from the federal government, then that's somewhat universal across the states. It's from the Supreme Court. It's not going to change when the president changes or the House or the Senate changes. The issue that I think, and I'm not a constitutionalist, I do not have a law degree, but my assumption is when it goes back to the state, the legislative body in each state can then decide on what the abortion laws are going to be, or regulations, you'd say. The problem with this is that power of balance. Let's say the power of balance changes this fall for a state after the abortion regulations are in place. The power changes, and all of a sudden, the abortion regulations and law changes. 2 years later, it changes again. And when power changes and goes back and forth, it's going to be a little bit of an issue that the abortion laws or regulations are going to probably change with that. And I'm a little bit worried that this single topic, kind of like single trait selection, will dominate every other issue when people are voting for their state legislation, or legislators, I should say. So I don't know. I'm still in favor of the state having power in almost every issue out there. I'm in favor of that, but that is at least one downside I see of the states having power, is it's very likely to change. And on those states that are right down the middle, it's tough. They're going to bounce back from blue to red and red to blue. Each time that power shifts, I'm guessing new legislation will be introduced and it will shift with it. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, I get it and I understand it, and that's fine. It's whatever. But like, here's the whole thing. Abortion is a lot like guns. Okay? Make it illegal, make it legal, whatever. You're still going to have access to it. You may have to go to another state. You may have to do all this. Do you know how many weird liberal companies are now, including Uber, by the way, help people that need to travel across state lines to get an abortion? All this, it's going to be fine, people. Everybody, calm down.
So do you think they're doing that because they truly care about that person, or it's they think they're gaining popularity by doing it?
Like, I'm not trying to make light of this, but everybody that wants an abortion is still going to be able to get one. I think people are forgetting that 70% of abortions now are done by pill.
Yeah.
This is not the 1960s anymore.
I think the reaction from most, and I get it, it's personal, it's emotional. I'm not gonna try to judge people's reactions, but you would assume by the reaction, if you didn't know what the ruling was or read anything about it, you would have assumed that the Supreme Court came out and banned abortions across the country.
Yes, and that they
That's
did
how
it.
it's
That
and
is the
you're right.
problem. They did not.
That is the point. We are not you said it first, we're not reading what they did. And what they
No.
did is they didn't regulate anything. They released federal regulation to give the power to the states. That simple, done.
And then the other thing, and I'm gonna shut up about this. All you people who said, "Oh, they're coming for you next," they are not coming for me. Let me tell you something. I thought one of the coolest parts of being gay before they made gay marriage legal is that we couldn't get married, so nobody could take half my shit. So don't send me those messages anymore that they're coming for me and all that. They are not coming for me. I don't care what they do. I am the worst gay person in the world. It's fine. They are not coming for me. So don't worry about me. Don't fight for me. Don't do any of that. I swear to God, leave me the hell alone. Thank you.
You did this to yourself.
I simply stated a fact.
Yeah, well, you should have thought about the emotion and how personal it is to everybody, and that they aren't going to read as you would like. That it's not going to come across as you would like it.
It was a fact.
Well, I'm just telling you, you should have known it was coming.
Uh-huh.
Okay, are we good on current events?
Yeah, I'm good.
There was one last one that I just looked at my phone here. Department of Homeland Security, there was a memo that was released or leaked. I don't know how it came to be, that describes how the plan is to take all of the immigrants waiting for asylum or whatever they may be, and nothing that we didn't already know, but transport them to various cities around the country to spread everything out. And Ryan, just the fact that they're not very transparent about this, and they're doing it in the cover of darkness, and everything about it seems very secretive. Doesn't that just feel wrong?
Everything about the border issue is wrong. That's just all there is.
And who's paying for that? Is it privately funded? Is it our tax dollars? Nobody knows.
God only knows.
What do you have for BTR JLA news?
I don't know about news, but
a top 10 maybe?
I do have a top 10. I have top 10 Junior Lambs. Paisley Carlson is first. And I am going to butcher this next name.
Did you not do Junior Lambs last week?
I don't think so.
Okay. Paisley, whoever you did last week, Paisley was winning.
I thought that was goats.
It may have been. Probably that's very possible. Have at it.
If I did Junior Lambs last week, I'm sorry, but
they're getting double the recognition.
Right.
Paisley, either way, that's
I would not. No, there's no way, because I would have remembered, because I'm a butcher this next name.
The only reason I say that is because our winner is the same.
Araya Neir.
Yeah, you did
from
not
Coatesville, say that. Indiana.
You did not say that name last week.
Yeah, there's no way I got that right, and I am very sorry to this person for butchering your name. But if you like want to tell me how to say it, I'll correct it next week. Third is Addison Zertbach from Roseburg, Oregon. Next is Courtney Semper. Bristol. Again, this is not the same top 10, because I'm gonna butcher this last name too. Bristol Wireman, I think, from Adelia, Colorado. And no, we haven't had anybody in Colorado that I called out. Gage Bateman from Lehigh, Utah. Adele Simpson, Eager, Arizona. Landon Blackburn from Tonopah, Nevada. Oh, Jesus. Araya has a sibling, Alette Nair from Coastal Indiana. That family's going to hate me.
This is a mess.
That family's going to hate me the most. I'm so sorry. And then Addison Sharp of Eagle Mountain, Utah. So no, Dale, I did not read them last week, because those names.
Unless it's maybe they changed maybe some new ones came into it, but
yeah. So, but there's that. Again, I'm going to highlight a sponsor, but I want to say thank you to and again, the ICSB NorCal Shannon Stone, they stepped up and did Sheep Region 1, and they've had their county fair. So I don't have all the information about her company, and I don't have a logo yet. So that's why it hasn't been on thing. But I do want to thank her for stepping up and filling out Region 1. All of Region 1 sponsored. Dale was supposed to be helping me get Region 2 and Region 4 sponsors, but now he's going to Switzerland. So I guess I just don't know what we're going to do about
There
that.
is phone service. There is internet. We're good.
Well, Region 2
I just need reminders.
Sheep and pig in Region 2 and sheep and goat in Region 4 is all that we need to have every species in every region sponsored. So again, if y'all have ideas, ask somebody, forward me a name, whatever, but we really need
we're gonna get those. We're going to get
really need to get those sponsored so every region has a full awards program.
That would be amazing.
Yes, I think so too. And I am highlighting this sponsor because the next sponsor for multiple reasons, but because he's the largest sponsor of the BTRJLA by miles, Clint Leonard and Leonard Truck and Trailer. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but we put up a swag store within the last week, and it's got caps.
We need to be careful on how we use the term "we." Let's just
Clint
give Clint credit. Yes.
Clint did. Clint put up a swag store. That's why I'm highlighting him as a sponsor. Clint put up a swag store, and it's got caps, and it's got a really cool tie-dye hoodie and shirts, all different things. And so please go shop at the BTRJLA swag store that Mr. Leonard put together for us. All of that money that goes straight to the awards program. And so we would really appreciate you patroning that. And I want to thank Clint and his team for putting that together for us. And at Leonard Truck and Trailer, they are dedicated to providing the best service, selection, and value. Their efforts are focused on marketing and exceeding their customers' expectations every day because they know that their continued success relies on being to satisfy every customer. They are your one-stop trailer source with the largest selection of trailers in the nation. They have on-the-spot financing, custom vinyl department, parts and service department, everything that you ever need, truck and trailer. Please, please, please give Leonard Truck and Trailer a look out if you're shopping for your next show trailer, because they have been absolutely amazing sponsors of the BTRJLA, and he's gone above and beyond, again, doing this swag store for us. So thank you, Clint. We love Leonard Truck and Trailer.
Thank you, Clint. And Ryan and I probably were delinquent sometimes in responding quickly about the swag store and helping Clint out, but he just grabbed a hold and got it done. And Ryan, I went to a show this weekend and I noticed our trailer ramp. I can't that we pull down in the back of the trailer to walk the animals in and out is jamming up on me pretty bad. I'm going to call Clint about that.
I
bet he can send me a new ramp or a new hinge or whatever I need.
I think you should just go buy a new trailer.
Yeah, that might just send them this trailer, get a new trailer.
That's what I think.
Last time I checked those new trailers, they were pretty expensive.
Oh, Mr. Switzerland.
Are you good on the sponsorship and news?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good.
Before we get into our main topic, we are in the heat of the summer, and I strongly recommend getting as much water into your show stock as possible, even when traveling and especially while it shows. This is where ShowFresh H2O can help. Simply pour this product into a bucket out of any faucet at any show, and it will neutralize the chlorine. In turn, your animal is likely to go from drinking enough water to maintain itself to the same amount they were drinking at home, and this is going to give you better hydration, in turn, a better look in the show ring. Very, very simple. We just do that. And we appreciate their sponsorship. It allows us to put this podcast on each and every week. And Clifton especially appreciates it because he gets paid. And it all works. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Pope Joy Livestock. Stephen made a difficult trip in late June here last week deep into Texas. And it was hot, Ryan. You mentioned it was hot. Positive feedback on him keeping the animals cool, being timely, staying on schedule. Everything really, really positive coming back from those that he delivered to. So Pope Joy Livestock, thank you for putting that customer first, the livestock first, and for being a longtime sponsor of the BTR. We appreciate your support. Now it is time for the main topic. Are you ready?
No, because this is your
We
topic.
really don't have a title, so it may change by the time we post this. Popular show ring traits, terminology, and why. So the reason
Again, this is not my topic. Dale did this.
Oh Lord, you want me to come up with topics. You want me to do this, so I
Yeah,
come
not
up with
stupid
something.
ones.
Here's
Okay,
what we
go ahead.
have. So when judges are in the ring, and this is a fact. This isn't just my assumption or my analyzing the people. We have audiences at the county fair level, at the jackpot level, at the state fair, at the national show. Our audience changed to a certain degree. Some of them stay the same. But when we're using different terminology, sometimes we've got to stop and think about the big picture. We're at a county fair. You have young kids in the ring. You have grandma and grandpa and cousin May sitting out in the bleachers listening. Maybe we should think about how can we term or put into words what we're doing in a manner that they can understand it best. And Ryan, all of this, I know how your brain works. This is all very simple to you and it's just automatic and that's how it happens. But I promise you, I've been able to watch a lot of county fairs and jackpot shows all the way up to the national level. And sometimes we forget about what we're doing in part is describing why we place the animals that way, obviously. But I think it's good when we're talking about them, obviously, where people are listening, we want to put it in a manner that they can understand what we're talking about. And I think there's certain terms out there being used by judges, including myself, including Ryan, that when one judge uses this term, it means a certain thing. When another judge uses it, it may mean something else, continually compounding this issue. And we can pick on some. The biggest thing that I hear about this relative to speaking to your audience, usually when kids come off a collegiate judging team, some of the first shows they're going to do are county fairs. And they just came off of many, many years from junior high to high school to junior college and senior college or any or all the above, giving reasons to people like Ryan or other livestock breeders or people that are very in tune with livestock terminology. So it's only natural when they hit the show ring, even though they have a completely different audience, they're using some of the same term base. It's just human nature. It's going to happen. I think over time, many of them will adjust it and transition. Ryan, do we want to sound the same in the reasons room as we do in the show ring?
I would hope not.
Well, I think, but I think it does happen, and I mean, I'm okay, but guess what? I'd like to adjust the opposite direction. How conversational maybe you want to be in the show ring. Maybe we should put that into the reasons and less formal. But I think we have a pretty big difference. We're very formal with our terminology, a specific set of terms that are allowed and aren't allowed when they're giving reasons, and those same ones then transfer when they're going to the shows, and it works and it's fine, and it's been going on for a long time. So there's lots of things that I think we can discuss about this, but I guess to start, Ryan, I would like to toss out just some random terms, and I know in your mind it's very black and white. This term means this, and so forth, and that'll be good because I tend to think that way as well, and if I see it a certain way, I expect the rest of the world to see it the same way. That doesn't work. My wife says that's a terrible, terrible thing. So I'm going to toss out a term, Ryan. You tell me what it means and why it's relevant. So, in other words, a term that's being currently used in the show ring to describe livestock, not only what that term means, and some of these are going to be very simple, but why is that important? Why is that trait important? It's kind of like a game show, Ryan. It seems simple.
Lovely.
Let's just start with one that I think is maybe the most misunderstood: balance. Define balance and why is it important in the show ring?
Well, see, for me, this is not an easy one because
No, this is a hard one.
I know for a fact that what I consider to be balance is not what the majority of people consider to be balance because I take my view on balance of an animal is all encompassing. I don't think it's just look or front end or lines. I think it is everything. It's the proportionality of that animal, how that animal is built in terms of, I mean, it is also how their head, neck, and shoulder are built, how their lines hold together, all those things. But it is also the animal's proportions, dimensions, everything fitting together, everything blending smoothly. And easily all of those things is what I consider to be balance. And again, I don't think that most people judge that like that. I think, and I'm not saying that I'm right or they're wrong, but I think that for the most part, balance is considered just the look of an animal, especially in terms of the front one third and the lines. That's what I think most people think balance is. Balance is important because unlike Dale, he won't like admit this. It's a show, and they need to look like show animals.
And balance plays a role in that. No
Yeah.
question. No, I think that's good. And I think
Even
you're
though
right.
he raises these little freaky deaky goats and wants to sells them, he does not want to do that's where it dies.
Okay, so I think you're right on the balance, and I tend to look at it similar to how you look at it, and I think there are people out there that do. I think there's some that do not. My first time that I had to really stop and think about it because it's used, I would say it's used by almost every judge in every show at some point. The term balance comes out. Would you
I
agree?
used it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going. I mean, if you don't, you're going to have to make a conscious effort not to. So it's being used a lot, and I do think it differs from one judge to another. I can remember when we were preparing, when I first took a position coaching at a junior college, we had to do horses at Fort Worth, and I did not have a lot of horse experience. So I leaned on
I won horses at Fort Worth.
I leaned on an ag teacher in Indiana, Roger Carr, and he sent me his little horse packet. And balance was one of the first things that he talked about. And in his terminology and how he coached his kids for balance was divide that animal into 3 parts, and they should all be similar sizes. And I guess that goes back to proportions, Ryan. And maybe would you consider think about the cartoon characters that kids will sketch or you see on hats or so forth with that monster butt and that little bitty front end, head, and neck. Is that balanced?
Well, no, because I mean,
But we don't dislike it either.
yeah, but I think it's again, the real live animals don't look like that.
Good point. Very good
And
point.
so, I mean, I find that hard to compare, but anyway.
Understand. What's another term? Do you have any terms out there that you think are misunderstood?
I could tell you a lot of things that I think are misunderstood. And not just things that big ring presence does not need to be used ever again. Ever.
Would you like me to explain what I use it as?
I don't like it. I think it's dumb. Don't say it to me in the reasons room because I'm
don't go there.
What size does the ring have to be a big ring presence? We're talking about like
here. You're missing. You're getting emotional. You're missing one valid point with that one.
It's dumb.
When I'm selling an animal or showing an animal,
and we talked about this after Louisville, and you agreed with me it's dumb, and now you used it in every write-up.
If we're going to show at Denver, the hog, and they probably changed the ring dimensions a little bit, but not much.
It's actually a small ring.
Very small. That's what I'm getting at.
There's no big ring present.
Exactly.
One of the largest national shows. There's no big ring present.
No. Now let's compare that to Houston's lamb or goat ring.
Huge.
I'm gonna say it's 4, 5, 6 times larger, maybe more, probably more. It's much larger.
The cattle ring is ginormous.
Yep. So with that said, when you're on top of these animals, and we have a lot of county fairs that clients buy for.
Term. I'm just saying, I hate that.
Okay, now just listen for a second, and you can use a different term for this. It goes back to what I'm trying to get at. When we're in a ring, and the Illinois Junior Steer Shows in this little bitty ring with poles.
I've judged it is tiny.
So what we've got when you're on top, when you can't get back off the animals, a lot of times when you're right on top of them, an animal that's just a little more powerful, maybe doesn't have to be as attractive because you're never getting back off them, are going to get along a little better. If you're in a great big ring, like when you go out for that grand drive and it's in the big Coliseum, regardless of where the original species show was, when you get into a bigger area and the judge is able to get back off of them and get a little better perspective of, maybe we can say, balance, their lines, their look, it changes a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to change what Ryan does or what I do, but subconsciously, I promise you, depending on how far you can get off of those animals to evaluate those animals, if I'm going to Houston, I know that it's going to be in a big ring and they've got plenty of room, a little bit more look. We've got to have everything that works. If I'm going to something that's cramped in there really tight, and they're on top of them all the time, they better be pretty big top, pretty big hipped, maybe not quite as cool and clean up in that shoulder and chest. They can get away with that. So that is part of what I'm talking about when I refer to things like that or try to direct clients one way or another. So with that, Ryan, I don't know if I heard you use it. I can't say that. I wasn't up there. I hear the term burley in hogs.
I
Burley.
use the term burley.
I assumed you did. Give it to us.
Just like everything, and I think the thing is burly and dense go hand in hand with me. And I when I think of burly, whether it's a KF or sheep or a hog or whatever, I'm talking about like their body density, their bone, their footwork, everything is just stout. Like their muscle pattern, everything on them is stout. And again, a lot of times when I use that burly term, I mean, I use it a lot, and I talk about how stout they are and how dense their body build is, and how big they are in terms of their bone and foot, and then but normally that type and kind also lends itself to having a little more shoulder, being a little opened up there and stuff like that. So while it is something that I use as a positive most times, very few times can I say or have I said, this one is burly and but yet still wicked good looking and all this other because I just think of burly as like a bodybuilder stout.
I like that. I like that definition. I probably have a little bit different, not a lot. I think you're stout, you're bodybuilder. To me, it's like that mountain man, that bearded, rugged, maybe even a little rough. And when I think about it, I probably would use it more in the pig ring. And I can't. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but when we leave all this really long coarse hair on a pretty stout one, that one's burly to me, and in a good and bad manner, both. Because a lot of times our big burly ones, maybe they don't tie together quite as well. There's other things that come
That's what
into
I
play
just
there.
said.
Yeah. So I see it as similar. I don't know if just big, wide, stout, almost maybe even a little rough looking, if that makes sense. And while we're on the topic, when we're growing hair on these hogs and leaving all that hair, it almost looks ungroomed. Ryan, can we use that term?
I don't know, I guess.
I want it to look like we've put effort into it, and I know to grow the hair we're putting effort, but I would like it to lay a certain direction. I'm not opposed to having a bunch of burly hair on that hog where it needs it, but I would love to clean the jowl up and make them a little sportier looking up front. I don't know why we don't block them rather than leaving it everywhere.
Don't ask me. I'm
Little
not in
off topic.
control. Yep.
A term that I've gotten, and it starts this time of year every year, and we're gonna use this relative to goats, Ryan. I think it'll be pretty clear for you. We just need to somehow explain it to our listeners what we're getting at here. The term stale appearing, and in our goats, if we're in Texas, 115-pound goat is definitely in consideration for that. That's acceptable. Nobody's questioning that. If we go somewhere in the north or the east, once we get past like an 85-pound goat, guess what they start thinking?
What?
They're too far gone. They're too big. They're too heavy. They're stale. They're
It's a
past their
tiny
prime.
little goat.
I understand that, but there's
tiny little
certain
goat.
regions, and you're not aware of it. You'll go into the east, and you use a big one if he's the best one. I have no doubt about
Exactly.
that. It is what it is. But a lot of the exhibitors, depending on what part of their country, and when I send goats out to target a certain county show,
85 pounds is lightweight in
I know
Texas.
I'm thinking to be safe. And again, I don't care what they weigh, but if I'm trying to predict what other judges are going to use, I think a safe window is probably that 80 to 110 pounds. Somewhere in there is most goats are going to be in that range. I'm not opposed to a 70 pounder or a 115 pounder, but when I'm trying to target them for different shows, I have to put more effort into knowing what part of the country they're in and trying to predict, are they going to get a judge from the South, or are they going to get a local judge? Because in a lot of places, 85 pounds plus is getting heavy. And then guess what the feeders are doing to us because they're worried about this term stale appearing. They're starting to hold these goats as they get heavier. And guess what that does to them?
What?
We start to wash that top out. They start getting thin, and they do look like they've been held, and that's past their prime. So let's get back on track here. The term stale, you tell me what it means in your mind when you're using it. Maybe you don't even use it.
No, I do. Yeah, actually, somebody. It was funny. I was just really nice county fair yesterday, hog show, and this guy came up and he said, "Me," brought his daughter up and introduced himself and said, "We're a first year family and we've never shown hogs before." And he asked me a couple of things that uh, about the terms that I used, and one of them was stale. He says, "I don't know what that means." And I said, "Sorry," but and I explained it. To me, in all instances, regardless of whatever, when I call one stale, or it's they're getting more mature through their head and neck, and they start to age up there, and they don't look as youthful or fresh as they need to. But also, a lot of times for me, stale also is in the condition of the body, the skin, and the hair, especially in hogs, sheep, and goats, because uh, the older they get, the harder it, and the more that these animals mature, the harder it is to keep that skin and hair looking fresh, looking right, all that stuff. And that's a big part of stale. When I call one stale too, is just the actual appearance of the skin or hair.
I like that. And there's so many things that come in there. So what I like the most about your definition, and it is probably the least used or least applied for the term stale, is that mature shoulder and head. And again, I'm with you on it completely, but I don't know that a lot. I think this rough hair and skin coat, absolutely. That is, I use the term stale when it comes to that. You mentioned body condition, Ryan. Do you, when you use that, because there's different judges to going different directions, so I want to try to explain it. Is stale when they're wrung out, too skinny, been held, or is stale when they're been fed for so long they're way too fat?
I think it can go both ways, actually.
Good answer.
Oh,
And it does, but do you think the average person out there showing or listening or feeding understands that?
probably not.
And
And
it's confusing to them because I'm getting a judge. I'm getting feedback from clients. I said, okay, the judge this weekend called our goat stale, and I'm thinking, well, I can't, I just can't tell you. Do we need more condition? Because everybody's different. But most of them, I think, when they say stale, they say they would have looked better 2 weeks ago or this or that. They're assuming that they're too fat, even if they're bare thin. And I can call a bare thin one stale both directions. Just as you said, I think you can go either direction. To
yeah.
me, and this maybe is not something I should say, but it's more about I'm going to call the finish or the body condition what it is. To me, I probably lean more on that skin and hair coat than I do anything else on it. And maybe it's wrong, but that real rough, terrible skin, terrible hide, rough hair, that comes that comes across as stale, and it may be nothing more than management in terms of that skin and hair. It may have nothing to do with their carcass composition or their head shape or anything else, but just lack thereof management.
I agree with that completely.
So that one I think is commonly misunderstood and understandably because I think you could ask 10 different judges and you're going to get variations in that one by quite a bit. One that I hear quite a bit, and maybe it's self-explanatory. A two-part coordination off the hind leg. Have you talk about them being more stable or coordinated behind,
Hmm. Yeah. I
and
mean,
and it's
I think at least for me, when I just use coordination to talk about structure, that they're not as coordinated. Uh, it's in the hock mostly for me, because when I watch the hock of that animal, it doesn't sit there and go square. It wants to wobble or move from side to side too much, and that then and what I think people don't realize as much is how that hawk moves and flexes has a direct effect on how that animal plants at the surface.
huge,
And yeah,
huge.
and so then when the hawk's not moving the correct direction, then the foot isn't going to land in the right direction. And so the whole thing, it's kind of like watching a drunk person get out of an Uber. It's just a little weebly wobbly type deal.
Excellent. I agree with that. And while we're on that one, I talk about them getting moving effortless across the ring, and I tend to use it across species. But part of that is when you think about that rear pastern, that rear hock, their front knee, their front pastern, their spine, all of those things have to flex, and the hock is meant. It's a joint. If it's a joint, it's meant to bend, correct? And sometimes does it not bend?
No,
Almost walking post-legged?
yeah, yeah,
It
no.
just happens. So that effortless movement all ties together in these flexibility of joints to be able to get across that ring. We talk about covering their stride when they're you have the front footprint and the rear foot lands right in it. Why is that important?
For
Why do we
me,
want it?
I mean, for me, and again, it's all relative to, uh, I mean, like, it's very hard for a hog to cover its track completely, but, uh, I think for me, the length of stride in animals is the direct correlation to how flexible they are, because the ones that are shorter strided are too tight, and if you are flexible and you are pliable in your skeleton and loose structured per se, then you do have a longer stride.
Kinda like missed yoga versus a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
A little bit like that. No, I agree. Well, why okay, let's then we haven't gone down this path. We can do it on this one. Why do we want what does that matter? Why?
Why does it matter?
Why does it matter that what in the real world, why do we need a longer stride? Why do they need to cover their stride? Why is it important?
Well, because if you and your weirdness, you would say that these animals have to go out into the pastures and do all this other stuff, and they need length of stride to cover ground.
Cover ground. And your thought on that is they're gonna be in the show bar and they don't have to go very far.
That I mean, uh, yeah, but I mean, I guess I'm being a hypocrite here because I think that is we all know that I don't think there's a whole lot of real world practicality that comes into the show ring anymore, but I do think that a lot of these animals, especially the breeding ones, they are supposed to go and be turned out at the end of their show career, and they are supposed to, be able to forage and reproduce and all these things, and length of stride is something that directly correlates to that.
To longevity, assumably.
Yes,
Very
longevity.
good. Very, very good. The one of the most question terms that I have by people getting into show livestock is they said, "I hear people talk about rib shape." What do they mean? What is rib shape?
That's funny. The same guy asked me that yesterday. I think rib shape is one of these things that it's really. I think it's very simple, but I guess it's not. But like rib shape to me is when you're studying that animal's how that rib cage is formed, the roundness of the rib, the flatness of the rib, all of those things. It's like uh I guess, and again, this is to the extreme, but think of a whiskey barrel. That is kind of like not quite that extreme, but that is the shape of a rib that we are kind of going for right now. Very round, robust in terms of shape. And I think that a lot of people use depth of body for the same thing. And I see it
No,
completely
no, no,
different.
no, no. That's the opposite.
Yeah, I know. I said I see it completely differently, but I don't think
Okay,
everyone does.
think about you're talking about your whiskey barrel, or just think about a beer bottle or a soda can or whatever. If we were to smash that and make it deeper, we become flatter ribbed. If we take that body and push it up, or on a lamb or a goat, if you have a deep chested one, more times than not, they're going to be flat sided. But take that chest floor, leave the top in the same position, compress the top and bottom together. It has to become wider in the center, and that makes them more round bodied. So to me, what do you think the purpose of a round rib or a round body or rib shape? What's the function of it? Why do we want it?
I'm not sure there is any function to it.
Good answer. There isn't. You want to
I'm
know
just
you want
saying,
to know the reason I
I
like it?
don't.
I-
It looks
I'll
cool.
yes. And not only that, I'm going to go further. It's hard to make. It's a
Yeah,
unique trait
no,
that's
I
hard to
agree with
make, and
that.
I like unique traits that are hard to make. But I'm going to tell you right now, people, there is no practical function. We can talk about a sow in a farrowing crate trying to get up and down. That if she's round her ribs, she can roll on her side and get up and down.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I think it's more body condition and things like that. There is nothing or very few animals in the world of nature, Mother Nature, that are round bodied. Most of them are the opposite. They're as flat sided, as narrow bodied as you can possibly make them. And in theory, over the selection survival of the fittest, that is what works for a lot of environments. So that is interesting. I am in rib shape. I'd say it's as popular now, Ryan, as it's ever been. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
And it's
Yes.
hard to make across species. And I'm going to tell you right now, in theory, we can say that it gives them more body capacity. Well, you know what? You could get that capacity from depth just as easily. You could say maybe it helps the sow get up and down the crate. You can say a lot of things, but I'm going to be pretty upfront in my analyzation. It probably serves no function other than it's a unique trait. It sells well. It's very popular. When a judge is handling a goat, especially, and they've got that big upper round rib, even if there's not a lot of muscle up there, guess what? We handle pretty wide, don't we?
Mhm.
So there's maybe that illusion that they're just stouter because of that. So there's a lot of reasons in the show ring why we gravitate towards it, but I don't think there's a lot in the real world for it. Unfortunately, we talk about attractive fronted. We can say we can use the analogy that everybody has different preferences. Everybody's going to pick out a different girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. So I'm going to kind of leave that one alone. There is one, Ryan, that I wanted to bring out, and again because it's asked a lot, and I think it's easy. I'm sure you do, but meat animal shape.
Meat animal. Well, that's just like the shape of top, shape of hip,
Yep.
the
Just
muscle.
muscular shape.
That's just muscular shape.
Muscular shape, and that's what they're I think, and I can't speak for everyone, but when they talk about this one has more meat animal shape, it just has more muscle.
No.
And I get very you and I aren't gonna do well on this one. I don't hear it as much now as I used to, but we used to talk about a longer muscle pattern.
Mhm.
And what does that mean? I have a definition for it.
You go right ahead.
It's easy, light muscled. The muscle the muscle is going to attach onto the skeleton at the same anatomical place in every animal. Period.
Mhm.
It is what it is.
Mhm.
And the only way that that's going to look long muscled is if you have a large framed animal or an extended skeleton and you don't put much muscle on it. I guess you could term it longer muscle pattern. And I get it. These really muscular animals look like the shorter, bunchier muscle pattern. But in theory, they're attaching. If it's the same frame size animal, I promise you take that muscle off the animal and you lay it out and you measure the damn thing, it's going to be the same. So to me, it's just lighter or heavier muscle. I'm not saying we need heavier muscled females or anything like that. I'm just stating a fact that muscle attaches via ligaments to the same portion of the skeleton anatomically. The only thing that's gonna change that is skeletal size.
Okay.
Done, fair enough.
There you go.
Sexy.
Well, that's not hard to figure
I
out.
do not use it. I'm not opposed to it, but I haven't it just doesn't work for me.
I don't know why you do not
My
like
my
that.
black vest and my white shirt and sexy and talking, it just doesn't.
I don't care.
And while we're on that topic, thank you, Ryan. I had 2 people at the last show I did says, "Well, where's your black vest?" It's 100 degrees out, and they're wondering where my black vest was with my white
Well,
shirt.
you disappointed them, and you
I
didn't
did.
have glitter.
I did. They did ask, "Do I have any?" I said, "Guys, I just don't. I apologize, but it's just not going to happen."
I think it's funny that you actually told him you wouldn't even know where to buy glitter, and he's
I
not
no,
lying.
no, I don't. I am confused there. Okay, back to sexy.
Uh-huh.
Self-explanatory.
I mean, I just think that for me, when I use that term, and I don't know if highly doubt I'm the first person that's used this term. I just don't think
No,
I
but I
am.
think it's going to be pinned on you for life.
But I mean, whatever. I don't know if I was the first one. I'm not sure. I don't think I was, but anyway, there are animals that are sexy. I mean, they are cool, wicked fronted. They are really, really awesome in terms of their lines and how they hold together. And I also I don't use sexy a lot, but I'm gonna state this, and I used it yesterday in the hog show, and the one that wins, like, there are certain animals, and people are gonna say I'm crazy, and we all know I am. I honestly believe there are certain animals that realize that they were meant to be show animals, and they hold themselves differently. They just
Absolutely. And
and
I
that
value that. I
and that
value
is
that.
when I use that when they are arrogant and cocky and they know they're cool, then that's when I use the term sexy.
Excellent. 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 I have one more that I want to throw out there, then we're going to move into our favorite section of the day. Feminine.
I think this gets discombobulated a lot, but anyway,
It does. There's no. When someone just uses that term and doesn't qualify it,
yeah,
I have an idea, but I don't know.
uh, when I or what I consider to be feminine or feminine featured or those things is that a lot of it is head shape. And again, people probably don't agree with that, but I do think there's a difference in what a feminine featured head of any species looks like compared to other ones. I think it is the thinness or leanness of the throat latch, the length of neck, how that neck is set on to the body and the shoulder, and all it's mostly the front 1/3, like shoulders forward, and but
Even maybe a touch refined.
yeah, maybe, yep, no touch
Yeah.
refined, but I think a lot of it, for me at least, is head shape.
I would agree, and I can relate what you're talking about back to dairy cattle, and they use that term obviously a lot, and I think your definition applies exactly to what they put into it, and I think, Ryan, most people out there are gonna follow your definition more than not, and under those circumstances, that makes sense to me, and I get it, and I think a lot of judging teams are coached in that manner. So with that said, that's where I go to first. I have a problem because I take it too literal in the definition of feminine is reproducing and having a calf or giving birth year in and year out. And I don't believe that those traits that we're talking about there contribute as much to it as just a animal that's moderate enough, easy fleshing, sound, capable of maintaining themselves in good enough body condition to breed back. I go another direction with it, but I completely get what you're talking about, and I think that's in the majority is my guess. I look at it as a soft-bodied, easy-keeping, sound animal that can reproduce each year. I
Mhm.
personally, if I see that long, narrow head, I am absolutely sure what's gonna follow, a long, narrow body. It just is. You can study heads and livestock, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, and I'm sure many others out there. You can study heads as fairly young animals and get a pretty good correlation on what the rest of the body is. And it is what it is, and everybody's gonna like something different, and that's fine. But I do believe there is a correlation between how stout skulled they are, how wide they are between their eyes, and then how their skeleton is from their back, or how long and narrow they are about their head, all those things. So thank you, Ryan. You tolerated this topic better than I thought you would.
Mhm.
And
Next.
there's hundreds of terms we could go over, but hopefully we at least covered some of them that are those are just like you said, or those are terms that I get asked about more than not. So hopefully that helps guide some people in understanding what in general those are used for. Question and answer.
Mhm.
My question pertains to the podcast not too long ago where you mentioned breeders in general want to sell to kids who are going to win. We have run into this issue this year. My daughter is younger and still learning. We've done research upon research to get her the best resources to get better, and at times it works. We have found that support for her has come from those we have not purchased from. My question is, why aren't breeders more supportive of newer showmen? And why do they only sell the ones they feel are the best to those that will maybe win? Isn't your goal as a breeder to get your stock out there? If you have less than competitive calf, why sell it to a show kid that's not going to promote your business? Thank you for all the information in your podcast. There's a lot in that one.
I didn't say that.
I don't think I did either, but
I didn't say that.
try to answer the question anyway.
What
Multiple
I said
questions.
is that of course breeders are going to want to sell to exhibitors who are competitive and who do win. I didn't say they only sell to them, and I didn't say that they won't sell. Breeders and brokers are going to sell to the people that have the money. Period. Do y'all know what inflation is? People need money right now. But
I can tell you how my sale today is going to go. Who's going to buy them? I can tell you.
Texas. But anyway,
Well,
next.
whoever has the last click on the computer at the highest amount, that's what gets it.
But
I'm not able to determine who that is.
yeah, exactly. But yes, I do think that there are I mean, if what I think I said was exactly is that if you are a competitive person and you win and you're known for winning, that there some of those breeders and brokers might be willing to give you a better deal on an animal, is what I think exactly I said. And that is the truth. That doesn't mean that somebody else can't buy that animal for more money or anything like that. The one part of this question that I agree with, I don't understand. There are times when I am judging and an animal will come in and I think, why would anybody sell this animal to this child? And
That is a terrible thought.
but it's the truth. And I said it's very few times, but I think, why would anybody sell this animal to this child? And when that happens, I want to know why they would do it. I mean, obviously, I don't tell that to that child or ask them, but I think to myself, why would they do that? If anybody knows that this is XYZ's animal, this is not a good look for them. Think that overall that yes, I think people want to sell to people that want to get their animals in the hands of people that they know are serious, competitive, all those things. Yes, that is there. They will still sell to anyone
Understandable.
that has the money.
No, I think that's a good answer. I think it is, and back to the couple. I mean, there's
But I didn't say that.
and I don't remember the idea. I don't remember you saying it either. But I think in general, as breeders, they hope their animals that they've put a lot of effort into making end up in hands that have the experience to maybe win a big show. I get that, but at the same time, I think it's self defeating. So hopefully, it corrects itself. That if the breeder sells to a younger family that doesn't understand that and they're not willing to educate them, that family's probably not going to come back and buy from them again. So I would think it almost self regulates over time.
Yep.
Hopefully that's the case. The next one comes from Joe. Not President Joe, I do not believe, just Joe. Thank you for all you do, and especially for giving the exhibitors a voice. The question I have would have fit best in your county fair episode. Our county is coming up in mid July, and as usual, the times that the shows start normally are at the hottest part of the day. I have brought this up for possible change, and it continues to be declined. No justification is given other than the board member mentioned to me once that this is where the show times have always been, and people are used to such. Is there any way I can take a different approach to find more success?
I don't know because it's really hard to get them to figure that out.
I mean, I understand if it's a show that's going all day, you really don't have a choice. You're going to be in the hot part, period.
No,
But that isn't always the case.
I'm not gonna like name or whatever. And I do say that I think that there should only be one rule of shows, and they all start at noon. I need to amend that from like June, July, and August because that's like getting into the hot parts of the day. I think probably the best thing that you could do is take a number of people with you instead of just one person, and like y'all all voice your opinions on it. But yeah,
But good luck. Tradition in some places is pretty hard to change.
Yeah, didn't he say this was a county fair?
Yep.
Yeah,
Compounding it there.
I just don't know. I wish him the best of luck, but I just don't know
Sorry,
if that's
Joe.
gonna
You're
work
out of
out.
luck, pal. You're
I
done.
don't know if
Just
that's gonna
surrender.
work out.
Surrender. The final question comes to us from Terry. I love the podcast and thank you both for all you do. They're very nice people, Ryan. Very nice. I am the sheep superintendent at our county fair. It must be county fair time. And each year I'm asked to line up the judge. Seems logical so far, doesn't it?
Mhm.
The problem is I have no idea what judges are being paid. I'm authorized to pay mileage plus $100 a day. Oftentimes, I contact several judges before I have one that will accept the show. Do you think our budget is too low or just scheduling conflicts?
No, I don't know many people that can give up a whole day. And here's the thing: most county fairs are during the week, and all of these people have other jobs. I mean, like they don't. I mean, they just do. You have to work
They
for a
do
living.
not. They do not have a trust fund.
I mean, I'm just saying, like they do. I have jobs too, Dale. But anyway, next. I don't know many people that can justify giving up a day of their time and their job for $100. I just I don't. And
It's
so,
just
yeah.
it's just hard if it's somebody that is maybe retired from whatever. There are situations where they're gonna wanna go do it, and as long as they got their expenses covered, they're probably fine. But it is difficult, and not only that, I know it's hard on just finding people that can fit in their schedule, but that's probably low, and I understand a lot of these shows' budgets just can't go much more than that. So we're into a situation where it's probably gonna have to be somebody fairly local, and you may limit your pool because of what you are paying. That's a tough one. Now, if you wanted to visit with some of the exhibitors or the local businesses or anybody that would maybe help sponsor the show and you could divert that money and all of a sudden you're paying $200 plus mileage, guess what? You probably just open the door at least a little more. Throw another couple $100 on it, you're going to all of a sudden be getting a much wider pool. But Terry, I appreciate the question, and I agree. I think there's a lot of superintendents out there that just don't know what the going rate is, and maybe some of this. Hopefully, this helps. Hopefully, it helps. Well, Ryan, I am excited about recording next week from the Switzerland of it all. I don't know when or where or where we're going to do that, but hopefully I can join you. If not, I'm sure you'll have it under control.
Mhm.
Thank you for today and going through some of the terminology. And until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?